delighted now to host a session, a discussion one-on-one with Dr. Anil Sharma, the founder and CEO of GMS and Lila Global. I'd like to say that our presence here today, Anil was the pioneer in a way because we've been talking about doing something in Dubai for quite some time. Then, of course, with Hisham, we moved this forward. And then DNB came on board, and here we are today. I have to say we are particularly privileged to be here, and I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody who really contributed to bringing us here. And as I can tell from the attendance of this event, we've done fairly well. I'd like to start the discussion with Anil, and Anil, you have been consistently among the top 100 people on Lloyd's list for years. So can you share with us a little bit about the development of GMS, milestones? I mean, you developed that into the largest cash buyer of ships to recycle, then you diversify the group. So if you can share a few milestones with us, that would be great.
Thank you, Nicolas. First of all, thanks for bringing Capital Link to Dubai. I've been associated with Capital Link over many years.
Many years.
Yeah. And Nicolas does a great job in bringing, various constituents together. So I think last Bahri week, we just started having this discussion. Maybe it's time to bring Capital Link to Dubai. And thanks, you did that. And I saw yesterday when I was trying to look at the agenda, it said sold out or something like that. I was like, wow. So it's good to have you here. So thanks for coming here. I think for me, the one easy way to define GMS is simply a value creator. I come from an academic background, and all I was looking for is how I add value to people, to clients. And as a cash buyer, it's mainly buying ships for recycling. So I have two constituents. So I have the ship owner on one hand, and I have a ship recycling yard on the other side. So for me, it's a very simple way to how to add value. And that's all I was trying to do the last 35 years, to add value to owners. And I think we must have done something right because we have done about 5,000 deals in the last 30 plus years. So that's a lot of ships to have negotiated and delivered. So that's what it is. Milestones, we were talking about decarbonization in the previous sector and so forth. One thing about ship recycling is, which I love very much, this industry, is it's widely misunderstood. Especially even today, more than 30 years later, if you talk about ship recycling in Scandinavian countries or in Europe, it's still a nasty word. It's still a bad word. It's considered, something that is poorly done and destroying the environment, killing workers, and so forth. And I have to say the NGOs have not done a good job in highlighting the positive aspects, and we have not done a good job of highlighting a positive. So I'm on the founding member of BIMCO's Ship Recycling Alliance, and actually I'm flying Monday to Hong Kong. We have our meetings there, and BIMCO is trying the best to kind of lift this cloud of what ship recycling truly is. I must admit, unfortunately, even in this region, suddenly the regulation has been passed against ship recycling in the Indian subcontinent, which I find very strange. So I hope we are able to lift that cloud, and we have been working very hard in this region. So thanks for giving us a platform to talk about it. We have our sustainable ship recycling program, which have been existing for about 10 years. We have trained more than 11,000 workers in ship recycling yards globally. And we do it for free. We don't charge anything. It's part of our contribution. So I think it's a great industry to be in.
Well, Anil, you opened the door to the next question. You have been a very ardent proponent of green shipping, of safe, of green recycling, and of safe recycling. So can you tell us the principles behind that?
Yeah, so I mean, again, I come from an academic background. I said I was a professor in the US for about 10 years. I lived in the US for about 30 years. So I moved to this part of the world 17 years ago. And as an ex-faculty member, I always wanted to be associated with the industry that is sustainable. And those days, the whole area of sustainability was not very rampant. But in academia, we were talking about sustainability and decarbonization. So I said, how can I be in an industry which my children are proud to be in? And so for me, the day one is only two things: safety, and that's why we do these trainings. And the second part is, we don't want to pollute the environment. So India is always doing a great job by recycling every component that ship comes out of it. So, we have the 3 R's of sustainability, right? Reduce, recycle. What's the third one? Huh? Reuse. There you go. So, okay. So it's a quiz question. So, thank you, Naeem. So, India is already reusing most of the panels, the motors, the pumps, and so forth. Recycling is the steel that goes, this is an important thing. The steel that comes out of ships, they don't go into furnaces. This ship is re-rolled, and that already saves about $100 a ton just on energy costs. So that's what we are doing, and we have succeeded. Hong Kong Convention has come into force last year, which is fantastic. So now there's actually IMO's regulation that says what is sustainable recycling, and we can all, play according to that role. So I'm glad we have been working very hard in this area, and it's starting to show results.
By the way, I have the highest regard for academia, but I have to say we don't have many examples of academia transiting so successfully into the business world. So it's amazing what you've done in terms of the transition from academia to being a leader, a business leader. Now, let me go to the next question. Another big part of your operation is Lila Global. And in an age where everybody is talking about the modernity of the ships and eco-efficient ships and so on, you operate a fleet of vintage ships. So can you tell us the rationale behind this and the potential of this particular operation?
It's a very interesting question. I mean, shipping is a wide industry. There are so many sectors, sub-sectors, platforms. And in 2015, we got into building ships and so forth. And when I did a self-audit, I said, why am I doing this? Right now, when I look at this room, this Bahri, this Dynacom, this Mainakis, and these are people who can do a much far better job than I can ever do in building ships. So I don't want to be in that space. So we made a very conscious decision. It's better to be in a space where we had, again, I said I'm a value creator. And we create value in mid-age, vintage assets. So that's what we focus on, and that's what we are focusing on. Our fleet profile is 16 years old, and it has helped because all we are trying to do is make sure we run these ships safely. I tell my team, we have a very, very high bar, meaning if I screw up, if Lila Global screws up, the people are going to say, what the hell is a scrapper doing in ship ownership? So we need to prove ourselves, not by words, by daily actions, that our ships, even if they're old, they need to perform well. So I'm proud to say, for example, our VLCC is in a tanker international pool, which helps. Our Suezmax is one of the oil traders and so forth. So we are able to run these ships, and the industry is accepting that. Our container ships, they are with the CMA CGM, and the dry bulk is again with the star, mining companies and so forth. So I think it's end of the day, it's not the age. I heard somebody say age is a number, whether it's in human health or the age of our ship. It's just how you maintain these vessels. So I think we want to stay in the value, in the mid-age, in the what I call the 15+ category. In fact, Tanker International has created a pool which is only 15+ VLCC pool. So we like that spot. Our idea is to play a bigger role in that space.
Thank you, Anil. So let me ask you, shipping is affected by many factors, geopolitics, regulation, technology, but clearly at the end of the day, shipping is affected by the balance between supply and demand. So how does the recycling landscape impact today's supply-demand balance across many sectors? I mean, you are across every sector.
Yeah, it's a great question because the way I see it is ship recycling is a balancer, in a way equalizer. When the freight rates come down, that's where we come in, and we do well. Like 2012, we recycled 60 million deadweight. That was the busiest year in 2012. But when the freight rates are high, which have been in the last 5 years, we don't recycle as much. And what we saw, the classic example, where nobody was building ships for the longest time because there was a discussion about the fuels of the future. And I think a few years ago, there was some kind of discussion, okay, the methanol story and the ammonia story is going to take a longer time to accept. So, of course, the dual fuels and as we were talking about Mr. Prokopi, we were talking about slow steaming and so forth. So I think the bottom line is that the new building has come in now at a quite a strong pace. But again, having been in this business for more than 30 years, I have never seen in the last 5-6 years such shortage of ships for recycling. I mean, we just keep on, the last 5 years has been nothing like this. Each year has been slower than the previous one. And the reason is simple. Freight rates have been unprecedented in all sectors. When we recycle ships, it doesn't matter whether it's offshore, it's containers, it's bulkers, it's tankers, it's LNGs, it's LPGs. Every sector has done well, except for some of the steam turbine LNGs that have been coming to the market. So I think we tend to be a good balancer, an equalizer between freight rates and the capacity of ships and the demand for ships.
Thank you. Now, this is a tanker week. So obviously, one of the big questions to ask in the tanker sector, and especially during the tanker week, is the shadow fleet. So can you tell us a little bit about your take on that, and also when it comes to recycling? I mean, a lot of these ships are fairly old. They will have to be recycled. There are restrictions on that. So if you can elaborate on the whole shadow fleet.
Wow, that is indeed the question to ask. I have a view. I don't know if everybody agrees. So first of all, I think, I don't know the number, but if I look at the reports, it's 1,500 ships, as you call the shadow fleet, the dark fleet. I make a distinction. There is a sanctioned fleet. I think it's about 1,000 ships, which are either sanctioned by US, Europe, or EU, which is, the rules are pretty clear on that. Now, the interesting story when it comes to sanctions ships is that it's not every country, accepts these sanctions, right? So, for example, China and India have been big importers of this oil. So, these ships can go into these regions, and they have been going. And the question is, and then there's a dark fleet, which is, to me, is a fleet that's really not sanctioned, but it's in the gray zone. What does it mean? For example, when we bought one of our Suezmaxes, the Scandinavian owner had a contract that says you cannot visit Russia, period, and which is fine. But now, when we came to the charterers, they said CPC can be done. It's not sanctioned. It's within Russia, but it's not Russian oil. And we are talking about Chevron, right? And I was like, whoa. So we went back to the owner and said, no, you just cannot visit Russia. So as a result, you lose that. So as a recycler, I have no problem buying vessels which are not sanctioned. Now, as a U.S. company, I'm a U.S. citizen, I cannot do sanctioned business. So that's a pretty clear line. And now the question is, what are you going to do with all these vessels? We have seen stories and accidents happen. My view is very simple. I think Europe, EU, and America should give license to scrap these vessels, because to have this unsafe vessel does not help anyone. To all the major ship owners sitting in this room, I'm sure that's the fear you have, right? The last thing you want to receive is a call to say, we had a tragedy and we have, which Frontline, I can say that because in the newspapers, Frontline had recently, right? And so I think that's very clear. The bureaucrats, the politicians have to address this issue. And the easiest way is to remove these fleets from the unsafe fleet and give licenses to recycle these ships. India is already doing it. Unfortunately, it is doing, in cloak and mirror way, meaning the transactions that take place are done in non-USD transactions. These are done in either rubles or Chinese renminbi and so forth. So it's happening, but it's happening in an underground manner, and which I don't like, because when you do this, you're not compliant. At least when you give the license, it's done properly. It's either through the Western systems, properly insured and so forth. I sit on a members committee of one of the P&I clubs, and these are discussions we have. How do you address this? So very clear view, the government should give licenses to at least get this fleet recycled. And I think that's also going to balance the modern tonnage, for the owners who have that.
That's very clear, Anil. Thank you. And now, the last question. We're in Dubai. Everybody has been talking about the vigor of the area. You have a global operation. Your headquarters are here. So can you elaborate a little bit about the advantage of operating out of Dubai?
I think Gaurav addressed this question, but let me put it, very simply. I mean, Dubai is the crossroads, culturally, geographically, and economically, all three areas. I mean, again, when I moved my offices from US, I was looking at what's the place to go. I looked at Singapore, London, and then Dubai. Dubai, and this was back in 2008, 2007, 2008. We didn't see this much progress, but fortunately, my call was a good one, and the way it's just so much easier to be here. The rules, the regulatory environment, everything promotes shipping. So I think there are a lot of major owners here, but those who are thinking of, I fully endorse this place. I think it's a good place to be here.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you very much for our discussion. Our time, unfortunately, I can spend hours talking with Anil, but thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your support. And in closing, I'd like to thank Khalid again, Hisham, Anil, and of course, Ian, for making this event happen.
Thank you, Nicolas. Thank you all.